So tonight we're going to talk about the throat chakra. First of all, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Rick. This is Rick from Wandering Macabre. He and I have been friends. We met at festivals many moons ago with someone who is a good friend of both of ours. And we've been friends, and I met Rick. He was the massage therapist in the main field. That he had a nice tent and was doing them outside, and I got underneath those beautiful hands and enjoyed. And we learned a lot about each other's interests. So we realized that, you know, both of us were interested in healing and healing things and psychic things and, you know, the oddities of the universe.
Crystals.
Crystals. I have a lot of crystals, and I was like, I should go in and get my big one. And I have a kyanite this big.
Ooh.
And I'm like, yeah. So I brought a little one instead. This is, here, let's see here. This is kyanite. And it's really good for the throat chakra. Really good, especially when you really look at it. I don't know if you can see that it's has many layers. Let's see if I can get a good picture of it. Can you see the layers on it?
I can.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it speaks about the layers in our throat and the layers of communication or depth of conversation that we may have. I always see that kyanite as you know, the longer you hold it, the warmer it will get, the stone itself, and the warmer the stone gets, the warmer the conversation will get as well. If you're having a problem with communicating, this is a good stone to hold. Hey, Kaleo. This is a great stone to hold. It's a good stone to bring into water. I like to go into the tub and hold on to it.
It's also considered a self-clearing stone. I feel it's a self-clearing stone to a point. But if you're holding a lot of trauma in your throat, it might be something you want to clear quite often.
Yeah. Yeah. I think kyanite, kunzite, hiddenite, selenite, all of these types of stones have this type of layering, and they all kind of remind me of, you know, layers of personality or layers, well, depending on the color of the stone, will relate to that area. So, you know, different layers of, let's say the black one would be just different layers of your root, you know, your path, the depth of your dark magic or the depth of your dark goddess or god or whatever it is, you know, that shamanic self of you, the layers of shamanism within the thinking, or the Strega witch. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
I find it's really great for connecting to shadow self. That's just another term for all the things you said too, but
Right.
adding more language to it, especially around the throat chakra.
No problem with that.
Kyanite also comes in, I didn't know this, orange. In orange kyanite. It was a museum piece, but
I have never seen that. So,
it was
wow.
the first one. Yeah.
I know I've seen it in black
And green.
and greens. Yep, I've seen it in greens and black. And then, like I said, I would have aligned that stone more with the chakra of the color, right?
Yeah.
Things it's been used for is alignment of your self in some way, I guess, so that you can communicate properly, right?
So even though it's blue, it's known for balancing all your chakras, connecting the soul to the root.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It also shields you from negative energy, especially around your throat. A girlfriend of mine made me a beautiful necklace with kyanite beads in different colors and a long pendant that's polished with kyanite, just beautiful. And every time I wore it, I really felt calm and peaceful and just totally chill. You know how the difference between passion and peace?
Oh yes.
What's the difference? How would you describe that?
Peace, I feel you don't need to do anything. But passion sparks you to act forwardly, to get something done, usually within the self or outwardly.
So passion is an action, and
Yes.
peace is an inner being or interaction, self, maybe, an interaction with thought. So when I hold the stone, the kyanite, I feel a peacefulness. I don't feel passion. I feel a peacefulness. So if I was having trouble communicating, if I was angry, I might use that stone. If I was angry, to sort of center me, to sort of pull myself in. But if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to do public speaking, I wouldn't use that stone. Do you know what I mean?
No, I myself would use sodalite.
A much more stable stone energetically, eh? Without the layers, you just sort of stabilize it.
Yes.
Yes, I like that. I like that. Sodalite, maybe more crystal because it's more solid, like this. An aquamarine. This is a light blue aquamarine, but it does have some layers on it. Not quite the same as your kyanite. And then there's aqua aura. Yeah.
Oh, I've had that stone.
Yeah.
That is a great stone for once if you're speaking and you have anxiety about
Mm.
speaking. It's very like when you need to force a calm onto yourself. But again, it's good to take it off if you need to let that out at the end.
There's this one too. I'm not sure if it'll flash for you. Hang on.
Labradorite.
Nice little flashes.
Oh, almost. Yep. A little bit.
It's got some beautiful light blue flashes in this one.
Greens.
Yeah, it's quite a nice stone. Um, I guess what we're saying here is the stones that you can use for the throat chakra are simple. Put them in your bra. Turquoise is another one. Super simple. That's a good, stable, hard. Well, it's soft. It's pliable, but it's not flaky like the kyanite, right?
Yeah.
Not flaky like that. Um, blue lace agate, another good
Oh,
one.
I love the agates. I love the agates.
There's
Another stone I feel one should keep. It's not one if it's yours and you use it. It's not one that you should give away. Yes, yes. The agates I find really hold on to that personal self. It really is hard to clear from the stone if you were to gift it to somebody.
I find agate's a really good stone for when someone's changing their path or stabilizing their path in a specific area. I always like agate for that because it again it's another one that's got all the rings in it, and then it's sort of like this path and another path and another path, one ring or one path leading to the next path, right? So I like agate for I give to people when they're changing their paths or they're moving away or something. Another good stone for our throat chakra is a calcite, blue calcites or topaz, celestite. Oh, I love
Oh,
celestite.
celestite. We have our own type of celestite. You know, when you see celestite, you see it in a geode here, usually, right?
Yeah,
I got some from a rock hounder at one of the shows, and it's like kyanite.
yeah,
It's weird,
I've
but
seen that.
yeah, I have a beautiful piece here.
Very cute, very beautiful, and lots of white sort of druzy behind it, and blue druzy. It's just beautiful, beautiful stuff. I love celestite. Um, chalcedony. I already said aquamarine. Chrysocolla. That's another one that if it's got a lot of turquoise in it and light blue, you can use that stone. It has malachite in it too, right? My son used to call it the earth stone because when you see it, it looks like earth, especially if it's a ball. Fluorite.
Wow. I can't work with fluoride; it crumbles on me.
Does it?
Yep. There's a few crystals that I have to stay away from. My frequency is a little high, so like a lot of quartz, I'll make inclusions in them, and they get all rainbowy. And yeah,
How about Larimar? That's a nice stone. I
I'm
love the
gonna
color of that.
I
You
need a
know,
reference book.
oh, Larimar is the one that's from Dominican Republic. It's that beautiful light blue, and you'll see a lot of it coming across from Dominican Republic. They sell tons of it. So it's gorgeous, anyways. That's another good stone for here. But how do you know if you even have a problem with the throat chakra? How would you detect someone who has a throat chakra problem, Rick?
Identity issues, inability to express one's ideas, feelings, either somebody who like needs to talk over people and yell, easily excited in their throat chakra, especially around identity of the I am.
People who don't have a voice, people who don't feel they can share their truth. So someone who has a hard time explaining themselves or just doesn't know how to share what they're thinking or feeling, I would say that person has an issue there, wouldn't you?
I agree with that too. As somebody who struggles with mutism, that is very much struggling to have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand that.
The opposite, though, somebody who doesn't speak a lot because they just don't, because they never were heard anyway. So no one's going to listen, so they don't communicate. Someone who just never knows when to shut up. There's enough of those people too. And those people are often like, when it's sort of extremes, when you find someone who doesn't speak at all or someone who just doesn't know when to be quiet.
Yeah.
That would tell me there's something going on with their throat chakra. Maybe someone isn't listening. Someone isn't listening or hasn't listened for a long time, or they don't feel heard, or they're not in a position where anybody cares what they have to say. Or, and it's happened this way too, where someone else has super inflated their ego and they think they're all that. Like this could associate to someone like Trump, one who's got their throat chakra out of control. That, I
I
mean, sorry, I'm not trying to put a political spin on this, but that man does not know when to be quiet, and the stocks basically taught him how to shut up.
Yes, a good example. He just rambles and rambles and rambles and makes no sense. I just listened to somebody read out loud what he said at the World Summit, and it was nonsensical. It made no sense.
Mm-hmm. And so that's a good example of someone who's had his ego super inflated.
That's
Okay.
the where I always go, because I, not to address myself, who is the silent and quiet type. I always address the person that needs to take over the room, even though when they've had their time to speak, they will be the loud one.
Mm-hmm. They just don't know when to be quiet. I was swimming with my mom the other day. And a bit of a quiet person, especially on my own when I'm doing my own thing. I'm not really that chatty. And so I was doing my thing, but there's these two guys and they're chatting away. My mother goes in right in between them and she's in there and I'm like, oh God, I can't listen to these men. All they're doing is talking about themselves. And while they're doing it, they're lying. And I can feel that. I find that really hard to be around. And I know that people lie. This chakra, usually, this is one of the problems too, is someone who lies a lot, someone who does not speak the truth, because this chakra is about truth and speaking truth, right?
Yes, that's
So,
where when I say the I am, it's understood in my practice that you speak your I am, you speak yourself into your truth. So we can lie to ourselves by saying I am. Here's something simple. I am hungry. No, you have hunger. Or I am.
right. So, I am not a psychic. I do psychic work.
Yes.
Right. I am a sensitive woman. That would be correct,
Yes.
right?
You are a spirit having a human experience.
That's it. That's it, right? Wants to do the healing work because it takes work to do healing work. So this here area is about we see problems in people who are liars, who talk too much, who don't talk at all, who have no confidence to communicate, who have twisted truths into untruths. Some of it's true, some of it isn't. Physically, someone who may have a lot of neck pain. Someone who may have a sore throat a lot,
Thyroid,
thyroid problems.
which affect women more, and strangely, women are forced to be silent. So I find that illness is a force of the outside in, forcing yourself to be silent, or the only time you get to speak is with aggression because that's only when you're heard.
You're absolutely right. Women have not been heard, but there's all the minorities have that problem. It's not just women. It's the blacks. It's the any skin color. It's the gays. It's the trans. It's the any minority is not heard because it is perceived that white cis, I think is what they're called, males are the superior of all the people of the land. I'm not exactly sure why that is because I was checking into something and I realized that there's more people of color males than white males.
There's more people of color in general on the face of the planet than us.
So what's this blowing smoke up our asses for with this superiority complex of white being right? I mean, I don't understand that. And I'm embarrassed sometimes to be as white as I am.
Well, in psychology and in the academic world, a lot of studies and things have been based on I think it's 5'8", white male Anglo-Saxon. So all medicine, everything has, in the large part for most of all our science and study, has been on.
It doesn't make sense to me. I accept that it's the great smoking mirror. The louder they make the noise, the more it seems the truth. They're not the majority. They are not the majority. So I don't understand how they have the audacity, and I don't understand why the people of color aren't standing up. Yet, there is the president somewhere in Africa, BF is the initials of the country he's the president in, and he spoke of...
Burkina Faso?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I feel that people of color have been standing up, and against, we're like, this is a part of your throat chakra, is your ears. Our inability as white people not to be here, not to listen, to go into defense and want to speak without listening.
100%. 100%, Rick. And I listened to him speak, and he's eloquent and intelligent and assertive and assured and confident. Right. He's beautiful.
Yes.
He's a beautiful creature. Like, but he's also a warrior. You can see it all. You know, and I'm listening to him, giving myself an opportunity to learn through what he has to say. And, you know, his experience of having to deal with the white bullshit supremacy, it's just that white supremacy stuff is it's a source of, I think, all the evil.
I agree with that. Can I ask you a question? Because of the age we're in, do you think possibly right now, as we see the events folding, that we are in the time of the opening of the like cosmic throat or the earth throat? People are finding a voice finally, and we're starting to be able to hear. So a lot of what's happening on, especially with TikTok, it's giving people their voice, and we're able to hear more voices.
Yes, I think bringing up the ears, because it's this whole section that we're talking about, which also means parts of your brain are part of that. Your nasal, your nose, even that's part of this chakra. We call it the throat chakra, but it's this whole area, really, isn't it? I mean, it is. It's partially the eyes, and then we get the dark blue, and that's the third eye, but it is part of the eyes as well.
In my practice, we also have another chakra. You have your pineal, and then you have your, I already lost it, your pineal, and then your pituitary. Mm-hmm. And that is represented as your third eye on the back of your head. Sometimes you're better at things coming behind you instead of coming towards you. And you can see into the past better than you can see into the future. And in my practice, they believe that it's because this one's stronger and more open.
Right, right. Well, that's interesting. I don't think I ever thought of it that way. I like thinking of it that way. It adds to the fact when my mother used to say to me, "Do you have eyes in the back of your head?" I guess I do,
So do I.
right? I guess I do. If you have trouble talking, if you have trouble with your nasal passage, if you have trouble with um, phlegming your throat, if you have trouble with your neck, your gums, or your ears, let's say you've got problems with your ears inside. I mean, maybe it's not just that you're not hearing well, but maybe, um, yeah. Actually, it's funny because one of the first problems I had when I was a kid was my ears. And my father did not want to hear me. We were supposed to be seen but not heard.
I understand that one. Mine was earaches all through my childhood, but I was also a selective mute. I was mute because it was forced upon me, but also I knew better than to open my mouth.
Yeah. My mother was also muted by him. We were all afraid to talk. All of us were. And I had swollen glands my whole life. And I had that right up until I was probably 25, 24, 25. When I started saying, no, I was about 23. That's when I was actually working as an early childhood educator, and I was working with the Daycare Advisory Committee in Ontario, in Toronto, and I was helping to change the laws regarding daycare and how we viewed daycare as babysitting instead of an educating system. So I was part of the Daycare Advisory Committee to change the daycare laws. And the book went from a little pamphlet. When I got in, there was a pamphlet. When we were done, we had this big booklet of all the new expectations that put on people who were caring for young children and what they should be directing their classes towards and how they should behave. And so it was a really interesting time where I was using my voice a lot. And that was the first time in my life I really used my voice. I didn't even tell my story about the abuse I had until I was 28 or 29. So I was 23 when I started learning to use my voice. And the first time I had to speak to the council in Toronto, this man, I'll never forget his name. His name was Fergie Brown. And he was some sort of bigwig in the administrative childcare. And I was speaking to him about making this change. And he basically saw me losing my train of thought and going into freak out mode because I was on stage. And he kind of slapped me upside the head with a really good question or two and brought me back into reality. And that was a man I always respected for because he wanted to hear what I had to say as a regular person working in the daycare industry. And so it was an interesting time. So using my throat chakra happened around then. When you look at the chakra system, there's, well, basically the seven chakra system. They say it takes 49 years to complete the chakra system. So when you start in life, you're seeing the whole world from the root chakra. When you turn seven, you go to the second chakra and you go through all of those chakras again, but now you're seeing it through the filter of the second chakra, which would be the sacral chakra. And then when you're 21, you're in the solar plex and you go through all of them. And then when you're 28, you're in the heart chakra. Are you following me?
Yes, I am.
Good, thank you. And so I was around 21 when I was first using my chakra, my throat chakra, and I was coming from the solar plex, which would have been having the faith in myself and bravery and pushing myself forward. Isn't that interesting? I've just realized it now. Amazing.
I'm actually acknowledging a few. I have you're just loading my head with stories to acknowledge too. Some people don't go to each chakra in their stages of life and will be stuck. If I find many men, not just men, but a lot of them get stuck in the second chakra. That's pubescence and all the things that brings.
You can be stuck there for a long time, and that's what brings us some very unhealthy sexual outplays or cosplays or whatever you want to call it for those people who are wrong. Recently, just earlier before you came on, there's 2 children that are missing in Nova Scotia, and someone asked me to look into my cards about it, and I did, and it looked pretty bad, to be honest with you. And there's a lot of those kinds of people out here now, and that's caused from being stuck in that sacral chakra. That's part of it.
Yeah, that is very much, very much. Can I tell a little story about understanding my throat chakra? So I was selective mute for many years, and I really didn't come out of my shell until around grade 5, grade 6. And we were camping, and there was a family across that needed another player for cards. Well, I hung out for, I think, a couple hours. And my adopted mom came to get me, and the woman was like, "You have such a beautiful, eloquent, well-spoken young man. He was a pleasure." And I saw on her face just the rage that I don't ever talk to them.
Why was that?
Because there was no voice to be had. They wanted something that they weren't willing to make space for. So they were very much trapped in their second chakra, and which also caused infertility. Blockages in the second chakra is known for infertility.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the things that may cause that, though, are often sexual abuse.
Yes, which is exactly that was.
Mm-hmm.
And as an adult, I hold no ill feelings for the abuse. I understand that it's generational, right? I just hope them healing someday. The throat chakra, they have to make up stories and lies. They're 74 years old and they're still weaving stories and telling lies to people.
And so when there's someone, primary parent, for instance, who has that particular chakra out, you can be sure every single person in the house also has their chakra out in the throat for the very opposite reason. If you've got an aggressive parent, a super aggressive parent that's intimidating, you're going to be super quiet until you get to a certain age. And like a baby bird, you probably lose your temper and then leave the house as well.
I left at 15. I moved in with my real mother, and she helped me find my voice, help me find my identity. She allowed me to be whoever I was. And strangely, as someone with what color is my hair? Usually blue. Because I feel like it's an example of needing to fulfill something for that throat chakra of
Yeah.
being.
And I think that my whole house was done in blue for the longest time. Again, I was working between the throat and the third eye because that's where I felt an affinity towards, you know. The other thing I'd like to point out here is if you have bronchial problems or lung infections, you know, like say you're prone to pneumonia, you know, this is another area that would say that there's something wrong with your throat chakra.
Throat and heart together.
That's right. That's right. And we were talking about that last time too, how often one of the other chakras are mixed in with it, with one problem. Like let's say you're looking at the throat, like you just said. Now we're talking about the heart as well. Yeah. Could also be from the root chakra and having a home that didn't allow you to communicate, just like you had.
Lack of identity, throat chakra and root. Lack of direction. And like me right now, not being able to get your words out properly.
So when you were speaking to that other person, that's because they came to you with a respectful behavior. I know a lot of people didn't know who you were. Even at the festival, I know a lot of people you had a small group of people that you connected with.
That's also because I'm autistic, and I pick up social cues that are body wise. So I can't necessarily can tell if you're affirming or how allistics can speak. I won't always pick that up, but I do pick up body language, and so certain body languages I will steer clear from.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I was saying about those guys that just talked and talked and talked. My mom's in the middle of them, and I'm like, get out of there. Like, get away from them. And she's like, they're good looking. And I'm like, so? Why do you want to talk to them? Because they're good looking? No. That's just it. When often that type of person, that's all they have is their looks and their bullshit talk, and I can't be bothered with that. And I find that's what I'm seeing with Trump is, he's really all about images, and there's a certain image that he wants to be portrayed at, whether it's good or bad. He wants to be seen as a tough guy. You can't mess with him, and a smart tough guy, but he's not smart.
And is orange, and his whole thing is orange, and he's all about the blocked root chakra. He is convicted for rape. He's like a misogynist, and I feel like he might be blocked all the way down to his root because it's just money, 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 money.
Did you know that his family, his grandfather started in Canada, in Alberta? They had a brothel.
Yep.
His grandfather. Tells you something about his roots.
Yes, their whole family is about human exploitation. So
maybe you don't know. I don't know if you know this. Did you know that I was raised in a family of a biker life?
I did.
Mm-hmm. And that is where you learn to shut up. You don't tell what you see. You don't tell what you know. You don't talk about that. You don't ever tell a police officer anything. And so you, as a young person, I knew a lot of things that I wasn't supposed to know. And I learned very quickly to not ever reveal anything. I was taught to never tell a teacher this, or this, and I'll just leave it at that. And so I guess what I'm saying is it took me a long time to finally come into my own communicating, to be a communicator and a teacher. Now I am. I share, I teach, but I am a fairly calm individual. I'm fairly peaceful and spiritually centered. But I haven't always been like that.
I feel like I'm finally fine. Well, I'm at 49, so maybe this is the time of my voice. Well, you've known me through the years. I've always struggled with housing and being able to situate myself. And as a Taurus, it's traumatic on my body. Yep. But as my tag as Wandering Merkaba, I would love to travel always.
You just have to learn to live with what's in your knapsack.
And that's where I am.
Got to learn how to live with that. I think too many of us put too much on housing, too much on where we live and how stable we are. Because, in the native traditions, they say that the turtle is associated to the Taurus, and that's the clan you're in, the turtle clan. That's the earth clan. And in the native teachings, I like it better because it says that, you've got your house on your back and you can wander. Wander, dude.
The throat chakra, the word for the throat chakra is ham, and it's a G. So it's we resonate our throat when we hum, and this is why it's connected to the heart, because you go hum, and learning to speak from your throat, people will be more attracted to you.
Well, song is really important here. You know how we were talking about heart? The heart had the flute because the heart area is about wind and the lungs, air. But it's also when it has a problem is usually when there's emotion or water, right, in the heart. But with the throat chakra, this is all about that G note, as you said, and also the ability not just to voice to speak, but to sing. That's the energy. So singing in the sound or the note of G would be an easy one, really, wouldn't it?
Yes. So in my practice, when you use your voice, you create a secret chakra, a secret vibration, and that's what you speak into truth. So if you're somebody that is always talking like me, it's like, where are you talking from in your body? Are you talking from your throat? Are you talking from your heart? Or are you like, as you like, and you hear like Pierre Poilievre, who I was like, so you can tell where these people are talking from by feel speaking like them and feel it in your body.
Where do you think Trump is talking from?
Oh well, I just
Asshole!
yeah, I'm just like, it's gonna be big. Oh, like because he has no. I almost feel like the root.
That's what I just said. He's talking from his asshole.
Yeah, yeah,
Here's another thing. Here's another thing. So when we're talking about magic, you know, people are realizing, they're beginning to realize how important words are. You know, saying certain things. Affirmations have been a big one over the years. People are understanding that when you speak in such a way, you're attracting in that type of vibration. You know, the other thing is I say to people all the time when I hear somebody who's stinky thinking all the time or speaking negatively all the time, is literally calling to them this vibration, this energy. It really is being called to them, and they don't understand why it's consistently there. Like, I've listened to a lot of the witch wars on here, and they keep clapping back at each other, having no understanding for some unwitchy reason. They're not getting that they're magically creating the hell they're experiencing because they
yes,
don't understand the truth of magic and the power of words. They put it in when they're doing a spell, that's the only time it matters. It isn't. I have said to my son so many times, and so many people have say, do not say can't. Never say I can't. Don't say it.
I know. Don't say I know. Using that dismissively. Scientifically, it stops producing neural pathways because you've literally told yourself you know the full of that.
Yeah. You know
I
everything.
understand is better.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
In the throat chakra, you want to also be very, very mindful of the words you're using in magic and with others, and just in general, even words that you speak to yourself, things that you say to yourself. Spirit hears it. You know, that's what I mean by the stinky thinking. Creating stinky thoughts, that's what's going to find you. If you're another thing you got to be careful of here is if you know when people pray to God and they'll say stuff like, "Oh God, give me strength," and I say, "Oh, please don't ask for strength," because then you're going to get all the circumstances and challenges that are going to show you you have the strength. Don't
Oh,
say that. You say instead, "Thank you for the strength."
I have a friend and their daughter, with puberty, all the third eye started opening, and they're very much more like me, and they can see things and experience spirits. And she challenged it to teach her more, and it got very scary. And this was the lesson I told her. I'm like, it's coming to me and saying, you asked for this. And
Yeah.
we're like, oh my God, yeah. I'm like, be careful of what you ask these things. Just because other people say you're crazy, that's theirs.
Over the years, I've had where people have made judgment against me, not knowing me, not understanding me, but seeing that I am an unusual and dynamic individual. Okay. And that on its own has created um, a certain belief system that I need to fall into place according to whatever their belief system is, not mine, but what their belief system fits a person who's dynamic and successful. That person has to fit their box, and I didn't. So when I don't fit those boxes, then they start to assume other things. And because I am fairly private about a lot of things, they don't know where I'm at, so they have to make it up. They have to
Yes,
lie about it. They have to make
exactly.
assumptions.
When, like, being a silent, quiet person, I've always been told like, oh, I don't trust quiet people. It's like I feel like you say that because I'm actually observing your words and your actions, and that's why you don't like me.
What
Where
it is
I would
they're
still,
afraid that you're going to reveal them, Rick.
yes,
They're afraid that your observation will catch the truth of who they really are and that you're going to say something either to them, confront them, or tell someone else. So they try to discredit you first
right,
because they're afraid we caught something. And we did. The thing is that they're missing is they're not that important enough for us to tell other people about.